Peter, I want to fast forward now, if we can, to 1991. You write correctly in the book that the country is in a state of flux, and you had to share work on the peace accord with the Herdbuoys Agency.
Right.
You weren't happy about that, were you?
No, we were not, because the selection committee was a multi-party committee, and our work was the most preferred work. And when we were asked to share this with Hans, we objected, and then they put a gun to our head, and then this lady demanded to see our balance sheet right in the middle of a meeting, and we had no balance sheet.
Yes.
But
One doesn't carry one's balance sheet
course,
around in a
yes,
briefcase.
yeah,
Yes.
and yet I think our advantage was we understood the diverse South African market better than Hans, because of the way we were constituted. And in any case, most of the work that was flighted was our work. Yeah, but we went along with that, but it was us, who won it. We know that, and yeah, that's it.
Well,
yeah.
you're putting that on the record right now.
Indeed.
You played some role. The agency played some role, if I'm not mistaken, in the design of the flag.
We did design the flag, in terms of the colors were right. We got the colors right, and unfortunately, the way the process went was less than desirable, in that it was just announced that we had a new flag, not having been advised formally. But we were okay with that. But the important thing was our design had all of the colors of the current flag, and we're very proud of that. We also designed, by the way, the ballot papers for our first elections, and we designed the logo for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Those kinds of social marketing things we were quite involved in, and I'm very proud of.
Let's not forget any advertising agency wants to work on an airline,
well,
and the national carrier.
The current colors, it was Herdbuoys work, jointly with the Diefenbach Elkins. And there again, we came head to head again with Hans, and they went with Lando in London. And yeah, it's one of the proudest things we did was to kind of brand our national carrier.
I want to move on from advertising slightly, if we can, to some broader business lessons. But you also write that no one that you knew ever got rich from advertising. And one of the lessons is turnover isn't profit.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious again, but it's a good watchword.
Yeah, it is. People don't know the difference. And something I learned, as a matter of fact, from Bob Brightford was, do not spend money you have not earned. Because we get these monies from our clients, and that money really belongs to the media owners. And we can keep that for a while. And it's a simple thing, but a lot of businesses fail because people cannot tell the difference between profit and turnover. It's a simple basic thing, but you need to say that all the time for people to begin to appreciate that.
You also write very frankly about dealing with mistakes in business and the whole notion of reputation being critical. And you write very frankly and honestly about the relationship with Pamodzi.
Yeah, that was a sad time in my life, in my business life, and there were quite lots of lessons learned. But I think the most important one being, you need to choose your partners carefully.
Absolutely critical these days.
Absolutely critical, yeah. And always, all the time, you must be driven by the value of integrity. And like I say, integrity is the all-encompassing value.
And reputation is critical.
Absolutely, I think it's more important than money. If you've got a good reputation, money will follow.
Fairly short tenure at the public broadcaster. You write that it's a body run by consultants and lawyers. Again, we don't have time to spend or to reflect on the SABC. But let me ask you this: do you hold out hope? Do you hold out optimism for the public broadcaster? We all know that a public broadcaster is an important institution in any country.
I think it has to be, but I think so long as you have political involvement, it will never be independent. Because what we have now is the president or even the minister appointing the board, the CEO, even the chief financial officer. So, so long as there's political involvement, Parliament is also involved. And I've always said that board members should, we should use the BBC kind of format where board members are appointed in a public hall. by the public. It's not just the ANC government. I think any government, that any party that comes in would want the same kind of thing to happen, because politicians being what they are, they always want to control the media.
You've moved on from advertising, as we've discussed. You now are a leading business figure in South Africa. You also write towards the end of the book that networking and mentoring are essential in this country for black business to succeed. Everyone would agree with that. I would suggest to you not enough of that happens. And why is that the case?
I don't know. I think mentoring and networking is done extremely well by our Jewish community, and maybe followed by the Indian community. But amongst other communities, you don't find that, and I can understand why. Especially, unfortunately, in some communities where you find people already up there, and then because they're up there, then they kick down the ladder. And I suppose it has to do perhaps with our history as a people being oppressed and that kind of thing. And I think it would need a sociologist to kind of explain that unfortunate phenomenon.
Let me ask you finally, if for some reason you had to start an advertising agency again,
I'd call
bring
it
the full
Herdbuoys.
circle. You'd call it Herdbuoys. Would you do it any differently? There are so many startup advertising and branding agencies in South Africa right now. Some succeed, some don't.
Right.
Would you do it differently?
Absolutely. I'll do it exactly the same way. Exactly. To the extent that I still feel there is a need for a Herdbuoys agency even today.
Peter Vundla, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Through his book, Peter Vundla uses his experiences in the advertising world to encourage people to be their own bosses and be in charge of their own destiny. Through the power of advertising as a force for change, he certainly wanted to change the world, and he did. The book is called Doing Time.
News that moves. ENCA.com.